Rachel Zegler decided to post a video of herself in a theater. I think she bought that ticket right there. Look at this. Look at this face. What can be said about this level of narcissism?
Imagine this. You're the star of a $200 million Disney blockbuster, the lead in a film that was supposed to be the next big thing. You walk into a massive theater expecting cheers, gasps, excitement, only to be met with silence. No fans, no buzz, just you, sitting alone, watching yourself on the big screen. For most actors, this would be the kind of nightmare you wake up sweating from. But for Rachel Zegler, she turned it into a selfie opportunity. Yes, in one of the most surreal Hollywood moments in recent memory, Zegler filmed herself gleefully clapping in an empty theater as her name appeared on the screen. A hauntingly ironic scene. One actress celebrating her performance in a movie that no one showed up to watch. And when she posted it online, the internet erupted, but not with applause. Mockery, outrage, roasts so brutal they could melt Disney's animation vault. Because this wasn't just an awkward video, it was a symbol of something much bigger. It exposed the gaping disconnect between Hollywood and its audience. It showed the arrogance of a studio that thought it could reinvent a beloved classic while dismissing the very fans who made it iconic. And it marked yet another step in the slow, painful downfall of Disney's once unshakable empire. So how did we get here? How did Snow White go from a cherished fairy tale to an empty theater disaster? Let's break it all down. Before we peel back the layers of this wild unraveling, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe. If you love deep dives with no fluff, just facts, receipts, and a sprinkle of chaos, you're in the right place. And trust me, you won't believe how this one plays out. Rachel Zegler wasn't about to let bad press or brutal box office numbers ruin her moment. No, she had a different plan. While audiences around the world ignored Disney's Snow White, Zegler stepped into an eerily empty theater, phone in hand, ready to make history, but not in the way she hoped. She hit record. As the film played, she clapped, she cheered, she beamed at her own name on the screen. And then, in what may be one of the most unintentionally tragic Hollywood moments ever, she posted the video online. At first glance, it looked like just another cheerful promo from an actress celebrating her big role. But as the internet quickly realized, there was one glaring problem. The theater was completely empty. No fans, no excitement. No one there to witness the so-called magic of Disney. And in an instant, the video went viral, but not for the reasons Zegler had imagined. Instead of admiration, she got ridicule. Instead of applause, she got memes. Social media exploded with reactions, each more brutal than the last. Rachel Zegler clapping in an empty theater is the most unintentionally hilarious thing I've ever seen.
And lo and behold, Rachel Zegler, who is not done posting L's, and it is a remarkable, legendary run of L's that Rachel Zegler has posted, decided to film herself in a theater totally empty, giggling, tee-hee-heeing with total glee.
This is like watching someone throw themselves a surprise party and acting shocked. Imagine being the lead in a $200 million Disney movie and realizing no one cares. The irony was too painful to ignore. Here was Disney's newest Snow White, a role that should have been the crown jewel of her career, and yet no one showed up. It wasn't just awkward, it was humiliating. And it wasn't just about Zegler. The video became a symbol of something much larger. The fall of Disney's golden age. Because if a massive Disney live-action remake could debut to this level of indifference, what did that say about the future of Hollywood itself? Rachel Zegler isn't just facing a single box office disaster. She's been on a public relations losing streak so bad, it's almost legendary. For months, she's been setting social media on fire. Not with excitement, but with controversy after controversy, each one more damaging than the last. At first, she had the perfect setup. A rising star, fresh off West Side Story, cast as Disney's Snow White. It should have been a career-defining moment. But instead of embracing the role, she chose a different path.
Which gave it a 42% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 1.6 rating out of 10 on IMDb, and a 1.2 rating, extreme overwhelming dislike from thousands of user scores on Metacritic.
She trashed it. She called the original Snow White outdated and creepy, mocking the classic love story that audiences had adored for nearly a century. She insulted the prince, calling him a weirdo for kissing Snow White, a scene that had been cherished for generations as the moment that awakened true love. She proudly announced that her Snow White wouldn't need a prince, wouldn't dream about love, and wouldn't be a damsel in distress. Instead, she'd be a girl boss leading her kingdom, because apparently romance had no place in fairy tales anymore. And then, as if that wasn't enough, she turned on Disney itself. Complaining about her own salary, she claimed she was practically forced to do press tours. She acted as if playing one of Disney's most beloved princesses was some kind of punishment rather than the opportunity of a lifetime. Fans listened, and they didn't forget. Each interview, each dismissive comment, each eye roll when talking about Snow White. It all built up until the backlash reached a breaking point. People weren't just losing interest in the movie, they were rooting for it to fail.
Here, please, enjoy. Cheering for herself. In the greatest Disney box office bomb in the history of Disney live-action remakes, but certainly also the end of her career.
And when the first box office numbers rolled in, it was clear the fans had won. They had spoken loud and clear, not with words, not with tweets, but with their wallets. They refused to support a film that mocked the very thing they loved. And Rachel Zegler, she had gone from Disney's golden girl to the face of one of the biggest PR disasters Hollywood had seen in years. Hollywood has had its fair share of flops. But Snow White, this wasn't just a flop. It was a $200 million catastrophe. Disney had done what it always did, poured an eye-watering budget into another live-action remake, expecting audiences to show up no matter what. After all, that formula had worked before. Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, each one had raked in hundreds of millions, even when critics weren't impressed. So, Disney was confident. They weren't just banking on Snow White being a hit, they were counting on it. And then, the unthinkable happened. Opening weekend came and went, and theaters were empty. Numbers started rolling in, and they were abysmal. Audiences weren't just rejecting the movie, they were actively avoiding it. And then, in a moment of almost poetic irony, Rachel Zegler herself provided the perfect visual representation of Disney's disaster. A completely empty theater. A lead actress clapping for herself. A movie that no one wanted to see. Even the worst box office bombs usually have some kind of audience. But this wasn't just a box office failure, it was a ghost town. Disney had expected Snow White to be another billion-dollar success. Instead, they were staring down what could become one of the biggest financial losses in their history. And the worst part? They never saw it coming. For decades, Disney had an unstoppable formula. Take a beloved animated classic, turn it into a live-action spectacle, and watch the money roll in. It worked every time. Until now.
A dude said $45 million production is looking at a domestic gross of less than $10 million. They lost $35 million making this movie.
But they still
If
got the
I
rest
saw
of the
this
year.
movie on a
No, that's what it's
plane, I
expected
would
to
still
do.
walk out.
Damn, trailer makes me want to sit on the TV and look at my couch. I paid nothing to watch this trailer. I already want my money back. Damn.
He said,
Is that a threat?
Go,
Damn.
hey, what did they say? Go woke.
Should have made her CGI. Damn, Mud Brown and the damn. That was crazy. When I turned my monitor off, damn.
This is bad, man. Yeah.
Because with Snow White, something changed. For the first time, audiences weren't just uninterested, they were outraged. The backlash wasn't just about Rachel Zegler's comments. It wasn't just about the bizarre changes to the story. It was about Hollywood's complete and utter disconnect from the people they expect to buy tickets. For years, fans had been begging Disney to stay true to what made these stories magical, to honor the classics instead of tearing them down. But instead of listening, Hollywood mocked them. Rachel Zegler mocked them. She acted like Snow White was something to be ashamed of, an outdated, problematic relic that needed to be fixed by modern Hollywood. And fans? They didn't just walk away. They slammed the door on their way out. This wasn't just a failed movie. It was a wake-up call, a brutal, undeniable message that audiences were done with Hollywood's lectures, done with actors who sneer at the roles they're supposed to be proud of, done with studios who strip away the heart of a story in favor of some forced, modern message. And if Disney wasn't careful, Snow White wouldn't just be a failed movie, it would be the beginning of their downfall. Disney was once untouchable. It didn't matter what they put out. Audiences showed up, parents bought tickets, and box office records shattered like clockwork.
Let's say that you were in a Hollywood movie, and the trailer for that movie dropped on YouTube, and it instantly became the #1 most downvoted trailer in the history of the platform.
But now, that magic is fading fast. The disastrous launch of Snow White wasn't just another flop, it was a warning sign. A flashing red alert that something is seriously wrong with the House of Mouse. And now, Disney has a choice to make. They can do the smart thing, learn from this colossal failure, start respecting their audience, and bring back the heart and soul that made Disney movies timeless. Or they can double down, keep churning out tone-deaf remakes, keep casting actors who openly insult the very roles they're playing, keep shoving out movies that feel more like lectures than stories. But here's the thing. Audiences aren't stupid. They're watching, they're remembering, and they're voting with their wallets. And if Disney thinks they can just ride this out, that people will eventually come crawling back, they might be in for a rude awakening. Because here's the brutal truth. If the audience walks away for good, there's no bringing them back. No amount of marketing, no amount of empty apologies, no amount of reimaginings will save them. Once Disney loses the trust of the people who made them a billion-dollar empire, it's game over. And at this rate, that day might be coming sooner than they think.